Support for Short Stops is presented by the Caylum Trading Institute. Check out our website at www.cayluminstitute.com. On today's episode,
from thriving communities to sustainable livelihood, Philex has allowed the different areas in the Philippines to make an unprecedented leap to progress.
Philex is not just responsible mining. Philex is education. Philex is health. Philex is livelihood. Philex is environmental protection. This is Philex, and this is our story.
call it what you want, a game, an experiment, a gamble. But stock trading in the global financial markets to us is a business. Every day you're surrounded by the noise. Buy, sell, hold, buy more. And we're going to quiet it down and filter out the best trading strategies, tips, and stock picks. You want information on how to find your next bagger or home run? You'll find it right here on Short Stops.
Hi everyone, I'm back. This is Edmund. After last week's episode, today we gotta get back to business and get back into track. And with me here today is the Chief Investment Officer of Cedarside Holdings, Mr. Brian Ngan.
Hi.
And we'll be talking more about what's happening to the market, especially as of last week. So, Brian, why don't you introduce to us and tell us more about your investment philosophies?
So our investment philosophy at Cedarside is something we call active investing. So it sits in between active trading and passive investing. We look at issues at a fundamental basis on a value style, but we also take a look at the technical trends to see if it's a good opportunity for us to pick issues up after perhaps a consolidation that recently happened.
Okay, do you have certain time frames for your individual stocks?
We usually look at a 6 to 9 month horizon.
Okay.
Under a year.
Okay, great. So, what do you think is happening to the market as of last week? We've had a huge drop and huge volatility. And how do you approach these types of scenarios?
I think volatility is part and parcel of investing in the market, and the volatility recently was because of a huge run-up that we had in January, coupled by rising rates and the 10-year yield. As we noticed in the US, 10-year yields are trending at around 2.89%, which is really at a 2.5-year high. So I think it is but natural for the stock market to correct, and that's why we saw a little bit of volatility.
Agree.
Last week.
So what's your thoughts on rising interest rates and inflation coming to beyond expectations?
My view is rising interest rates is not necessarily a bad thing. It's in fact a reflection on the underlying strength of the economy. What we see right now is global reflation across US, Europe, Japan, Hong Kong, and even in the Philippines. And rising interest rates are but a response to the growing economy that we have. Since price levels are high, inflation needs to be controlled, and hence interest rates need to be managed.
And one of the biggest concerns is that we haven't seen this in a long time. I mean, interest rates for like the past 10 years were in a bull market, and now it's changed totally in the past year alone. I mean, starting from the quantitative easing announcements in 2013, May in 2013. Mm-hmm. But today it's finally picking up. And do you think this is towards the tail end of the bull market?
I don't think so. In fact, I think this is just the beginning of an even stronger bull that's coming up. Because I think it is the first time that global markets are in synchrony, in that all the markets are going up. And in terms of economic growth, we see Japan is really out of its lost decade, around 15 years of deflation. And then we see the US market is picking up strong. And even Europe, which has been slowing down for the past 5 years, is also picking up. So I think, this has a little bit more to go, and that the recent correction is just temporary.
So what are no-brainer buying levels for you then, if that's the case?
To me, no-brainer buying levels for the PSE is if you do see a correction to 8,200, you can just close your eyes and buy blue chips.
Okay, so would you recommend buying the index or buying individual issues or stock picking in this case?
Well, as we've seen in the past few weeks, growth stocks like Wilcon, Pizza have done very well. I mean, what I think is in the consolidation, when we hit levels like 8,500, it's very nice level to buy blue chips, because then you'd be buying them at a more attractive level than back when it was 9,200. But a consistent theme is that growth stocks will continue to outperform.
So at the end of the day, you always prioritize growth, I'm assuming?
I would say at these levels, yes, growth, and value when a consolidation happens.
Okay, so it's growth, priority, and then value when the consolidation is finished.
Yes.
Okay. One of the biggest movers last Thursday and today was Philex Petroleum. And as of last week, there was an announcement that there will be joint venture explorations, continued talks between the Chinese towards the joint venture explorations. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think Philex Petroleum is in a unique position in that it has the rights to drill in the Reed Bank. But as we know, in 2014, there was a moratorium on the drilling because of disputes in the South China Sea. But what we hear from recent news, like last week, they had a discussion with the Philippine government and the Chinese government that they are coming towards a unified agreement, perhaps in 3 months' time. I think this is generating a lot of excitement for Philex Petroleum. But we have to note that this is a exploration phase for a natural reserve stock like Philex Petroleum, which behaves like mining. And in that phase, the initial run-up is really driven largely by speculation. There will be a point in time where the speculators will leave at perhaps a very high level for the stock. And we will go through an orphan period where you will see the stock levels going down while they are doing a feasibility study. So we trade this knowing that we're still in the early phases of exploration.
Okay. Given there's 2.7 trillion reserves of cubic feet, that was the assumption, or that was the study done almost 2-3 years ago. Till today, that seems like to be a huge amount, if I'm not mistaken, right? I mean, there's a carrot waiting for a lot of people. Can this still lead to a higher stock price given this case?
The excitement for this PXP energy is because Malampaya, the reserves in Malampaya are slowly draining, and their prediction is it will totally drain out by 2024. So they're seeing Reed Bank as a replacement for Shell Malampaya. And I think there definitely is some room for the stock price to run up, but make sure that you will exit, at the right time, because I think this is purely speculation.
Got it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want to be putting a large sum of money. You just want to always know how to protect yourself whenever you're trading these cases. And like the case of now, I think the most important thing at the end of the day is still risk management.
Absolutely.
As long as you know how to protect yourself and know when to get out, or when you're wrong, right, then you can proceed to trade it, especially if you're looking things at a short time frame.
Yes, and always remember to right-size your positions.
Oh, that's always true. So, Brian, do you have any industries or stock picks that you're looking at?
What I like for this year really is banking. I mean, with the recent cut in the reserve requirement by 1% to 19% from 20, that unlocks around 90 billion of trapped cash. And I think that's good for banks. And what's up in store for the next month is really an interest hike by the central bank, I think by March or April, 25 basis points. And again, that will bode well for banks in that their net interest margins will expand. Property is also another sector that I like. Beneficiary definitely of the cut in the reserve requirement. You unlock a lot of trapped cash, but an increase in interest rate bodes negatively for the property sector. So I think, choose which names to bet on. I think Ayala Land has posted strong earnings and it's trading at 24 times PE. That would be my pick for property. But the property sector, I believe, will play out to the latter part of the year, not immediately.
Latter part of the year because?
In the second half, primarily because, number one, the increases in rates have to be priced in. And then secondly, we need to see that these developers are continuously getting good take-ups on both residential and office. I think on the resi side, unquestionably, they're doing very well. But in office, we're hearing a lot of mixed news in that there's weakness because of POGO slowdown. And then we're also hearing that there's a lot of office space coming into the market. So, we need to see that the demand coming from the BPOs that were not present, the new BPOs that were not present in 2017, would they come in strong in 2018 or would they continue to skip the market?
Okay, got it. To those listening, when Brian mentioned about POGO, he meant the Philippine offshore gaming. And it's one of the reasons why the office supply has been very buoyant in the last year alone.
That's right, mostly through Chinese buying in POGOs.
So Brian, do you have any alpha picks or individual stocks that you continue to hold or continue to like?
I continue to like growth stocks like Macro Asia. I think there's still, a lot more room to grow for that stock.
Really?
Well, what I feel with them is they're transitioning away from purely catering and MRO business on Lufthansa Technik. Well, from my last conversation with them, they're looking into ground handling and cargo, which I think is a huge portion of the airport value chain. And should they complete this proposition, I think you hear a lot of talk about the Bulacan Airport, Clark Airport. They stand a good chance in doing the operations and maintenance bid for such airports, which I think, is something that will unlock value for the stock even further.
Got it. Even at these prices, you still think that there's still room to grow?
I think there's still room to grow. It's all a matter of execution.
Okay, great. Okay. Guys, so there you have it once again. Brian Ngan of Cedarside Holdings giving us tremendous advice today. So remember, guys, stay invested, buy the right sectors, buy the right companies. This consolidation is a chance for you to be buying. And thanks, Brian.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Have a good day, guys.